Good morning, everybody. I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama. I'm going to do a quick video out here with the girls to add on to my Chickens in Your Garden playlist. We've been talking a lot on the channel lately about how to put plants in with your chickens, and I'm going to give you my 2 favorite plants that you can put in with your chickens. So good morning, everybody. Excuse the air conditioner, and I'm going to make this a pretty quick video. So I have a runner-up and then my favorite plant of all time that you can put in with the chickens. Now you can see all of my other content. I did this video recently that's going to be linked up here, talking about like, here are all of the reasons why you should put plants in with your chickens. And I won't go into how I put the plants in here so that the plants can get acclimated. You can see that in that playlist I mentioned, the Chickens in Your Garden. I'll also link to that at the end. So let's talk about my runner-up first. And you guys know that I like looking for plants who have lots of benefits for your chickens. Your chickens can eat it, and it's safe, and it looks pretty, and maybe it repels pests, or it's food for your family, or whatever. The runner-up is right here in front of you. It is basil. I have this monster basil, that monster basil, and this one in here, and then I have like 4 more over for my house. So basil is the runner-up. Here are the reasons why I love it. It is safe for chickens. It is aromatic, meaning either when the sun hits it, when it's warm. I mean, geez, even me moving these pots around, you know, because I rotate them, you get like that smell of basil. So they're aromatic. The aromatics doesn't really matter to the chickens themselves because they have a very weak sense of smell, but it does help repel things, everything from flies and mosquitoes to mice and rats, which might come in and obviously be a problem for stealing chicken food and stuff. The other thing that's crazy about basil is it's very, very, very cheap. You can buy it at your nursery, or if you buy like an organic sprig from your grocery store, you might even be able to propagate that and put it into the ground. I'll do a video soon on my channel here in the next few months that shows you how I propagate plants. Basically, you just take not a woody sprig, so see how it's gotten woody here and it's brown. You would take a younger, newer sprig, trim it off, rip off some of the leaves on the bottom of that cutting, and then stick it in clean water in a sunny spot, like on a windowsill. It will grow roots, and ta-da, you've made yourself a free plant. So basil is really, really cheap. Almost all of the basil that I have has come from like the same mother plant, and I just keep cutting pieces off and making more plants. So as a side note, I'll also put these, I don't know what you call them. They're like the bag pots. You can fold them up when you're not using them. The water goes through them beautifully. I actually really like them. They're easy with pots that you're moving around often. I've used them for a lot of my vegetables too. So that'll be down in the video description. But basil is the backup. And then obviously you can also pull the leaves off. You can put it in with your chicken feed. You can put it in with the nesting boxes or in the coop, again, to help repel different pests, again, from flies to mice, and you can use it with your own cooking. So basil is my backup. Basil will freeze. I don't have any basil in the ground here. I can't tell you. I would assume that it would freeze to the ground and then hopefully come back up the next spring if you left the basil in the ground and it freezes down to the ground. But as long as you keep it going and it's not flowering, then it will continue to live for a really long time. I'm trying to see if I have any. If a spot starts to flower and they make like a little tower of flowers that are white, you want to pinch those off. If your basil flowers, it does help the pollinators in your area, but unfortunately it will basically tell the plant, okay, your life cycle is done and now it's the beginning of the end. So you want to pinch those flowers off to keep the basil producing leaves that taste good. Once it flowers, the leaves go bitter, and instead of it like continuously growing and continuously making you leaves, it'll kind of get out of that loop and it'll go finish the end of its life cycle. So I pinch the flowers off. Okay, so the moment you've all been waiting for, my favorite plant for chickens, if I can only pick one plant, it's called Purple Heart, and I'm gonna, oh my gosh, here comes the plane. Okay, now there is no plane. Now please forgive the dead grass. We're dealing with the hottest Texas in history. So the Purple Heart looks like this. I'm gonna show you it all over the place. It is normally called Purple Heart. I've also seen it called Wandering Jew, but I don't use that name for obvious reasons. Purple Heart is like the easiest plant to propagate. Your chickens can eat it. It's beautiful. I love that it gives a pop of color. So the leaves will be, and I'm gonna pan you around and show you different ones. The leaves will be, there's another one right there in the ground, between a green and a purple, depending on how much sunlight it gets. So for example, this one gets a ton of sun. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. That one gets a ton of sun, so you can see how it's green. Purple Heart is crazy. So it's a ground cover, which means the plant grows more horizontally than vertically. So here are all my tips. Here's another basket of Purple Heart that I've made right there. There's all of these Purple Heart. So dip under the netting and stuff here. This is all Purple Heart. This is all Purple Heart. Purple Heart in that basket. So a couple of things to be aware of with the Purple Heart. The chickens can eat it. It is chicken safe. Again, it is a ground cover, so it's not going to get more than like a foot tall, 1.5 feet tall. Again, it's going to spread horizontally. It is very, very drought tolerant. Mine gets watered, I don't know, about once every 4 days. You can see the spots that were laying on the concrete did get kind of fried again. And if y'all remember, I lost that tree last year, so that's part of the problem why they're suffering a little bit. They have teeny tiny little flowers, but they bloom constantly. So it's another plant that can help the pollinators. They will freeze to the ground in the winter, but they spread under the ground during the winter. So as you can see, all throughout the year, all throughout the spring and summer, I get new pieces of them popping up. So a word of caution, if you plant Purple Heart in the ground, it is going to spread. So if you're the kind of person who only likes your plant to grow in one specific little zone, do not put Purple Heart in the ground. Other plants that do that, mint is notorious for doing that. Any kind of bamboo is notorious for doing that. So don't put them in the ground if you want them to only stay in that one spot. The other thing to note about Purple Heart, see, here's another basket. You can literally pop pieces off, and again, you pop off like the bottom leaves so that you have like a long stalk, and you just stick it in dirt. You don't have to put it in water first. You don't have to fertilize it. You don't have to use rooting hormone like I've talked about in some of my other videos. You literally just, or like a piece gets broken off, right? Like while you're mowing or watering, a piece snaps off. Literally just make a hole in the dirt with your finger and stick it in the dirt. So you can see this was the original piece. This original piece is dying, but there's new growth, new growth, new growth. So you literally have like unlimited plants. You can put them up in hanging baskets. Here's a hanging basket of Purple Heart, and you can see the flowers. They just look like little purple hearts, little lavender hearts. But I don't water them very often. I forget about them half the time. See, this one's climbing up to meet my grapevines. But again, Purple Heart, you can pop off pieces and give it to the chickens. You can put it somewhere where your chickens can reach it. I have more Renegade Purple Heart growing all along here. And I wanted this stupid outer area outside this, outside my run, outside where I put my fence. I don't want it to just be concrete and dirt. I wanted it to have some depth and some color. And I mean, while I've got the space, I mean, I want to help pollinators and stuff too. So Purple Heart is my absolute favorite. You can either get cuttings from people. And again, the cuttings, you don't have to put it in water. You don't have to baby it. Like literally break a piece off and shove it in the dirt. And it will spread and it will grow and it will be amazing. You can put it in hanging baskets. Again, put it anywhere by your chickens. The caution would be if you're going to plant it like in the chicken run, you want to protect it a little bit in the beginning because the chickens will try to eat it, but they'll just pull the whole piece out of the ground. But again, I have hanging baskets of it all over the place. I've spread it all around here. You can go buy one for like $1.99, $2.99, buy a little one. And then if you have the patience, same thing with basil, right? If you have the patience, you can end up using just that one plant to reproduce like all over your property. So Purple Heart is my top. Basil is my second. Other plants that I love, again, are plants that give lots of bonuses. They have lots of benefits. You can see this video here with some of my favorite plants where I take the tour and I show you all about the ornamental trees and the vegetable plants and all the other things. But basil is my backup. My absolute favorite is Purple Heart. As always, if you liked this video, please subscribe. Please like the video. That helps out my little family and helps me support the flock. And you are always welcome to put comments and questions down below. Thank you, guys.